Welcome to another travel vlog. Today with Dustin Stones, we are going to travel to some of the most exciting locations to see here in Israel. We're actually going to be leaving at 6:30 a.m. from the Jerusalem Museum, and then we work our way up on Highway 60, the Highway of the Fathers is what it's called. We work our way up to Bethel. Bethel is known as the location where Jacob had his dream with the Jacob's Ladder story. Then the next location that we head up to is Shiloh, biblical Shiloh. It's one of the most ancient cities in the land of Israel because in fact, this is the location where the tabernacle stood for 369 years. And the children of Israel set up this location as their spiritual capital. Then, after our visit in Shiloh, biblical Shiloh, we then make our way up to Mount Gerizim, which is the location of the Samaritan village, which in fact, the village is still inhabited by the Samaritans that you hear about in the Bible. And that's where we're going to finish our tour today with the overlook over Joseph's tomb, just off of Mount of Blessing, Har Bracha, and it's called the Joseph Overlook. And what you're going to see there is the city of Shechem, or also known as Nablus. This is the location where Joseph's tomb is, and also where ancient Shechem, the ancient city of Shechem, is also located in the valley. It's an amazing overlook that oversees the whole valley below. And then we have one final stop on our way back home. We got a bonus location where we actually stop at one of the wineries where they produce some amazing wines and some very special boutique wines, where in fact they do a special process that they basically reverse the order of how normally you make wine, basically where you make white wine from white grapes. They actually make white wine from red grapes. And then we got to finish our day with a beautiful, beautiful sunset over the mountains of Samaria that it was just gorgeous and amazing and a wonderful way to finish a long trip. So here we go, guys. Without any further ado, let's dive into today's travel vlog. Here we go. All right, good morning. So today we are in the Yeshuv, the community of Bethel, and it's cold. That's why I'm all dressed up, by the way. It's a nice breezy, cold morning here. Winter is starting here in Israel. It's awesome. We had the winter rains that started more or less like 2 weeks ago, give or take, the first winter rains. And here we are now in the community of Bethel, and behind me you see some ruins of one of the considered to be possibly one of the locations where Jacob had the dream, Jacob's ladder. You know the story in Genesis 28, which is, by the way, this week's Torah portion. We read the Torah portion in the synagogues. We read a portion of the 5 books of Moses. So that's where we're at right now. So it's kind of cool. It falls together with our weekly Torah reading. And by the way, I have a wonderful guest there this morning. She is one of the people that's taken the tour guide course with me, and she happens to be her family is one of the founders of the community of Bethel, and she can give a little bit on what she has to say from a person who's from here and the importance to her of this place. So here we go.
I was almost born here in Bethel. My parents came here when I was almost 1 year old. It was nothing here, and we really established this place after so many years. That 67 after 73, it was an opportunity to come here and to establish new settlement, new community. And we were on the hills. We walk here and tell the story of the Bible. Just here, we walked here and said this is the place that Abraham were and called God. This is the place that Yaakov saw the angels in his dream, and it was very exciting to grow like that. That the Bible is very alive. When I was 10 years old, we really learned here and on the hills our lessons. We learned about Abraham, so we went to here and walked here. And then big bird flew above us, and we said, "Oh!" We screamed and afraid that it will be like Brit Ben Abtarim of Abraham. So it was very, very deep connection. It's built a very deep connection. I feel very strong bond to this area, to these hills. And my children also, I tell them the story of the Bible in the place of the Bible. We lived here. Now we lived in Michmas, is nearby, but this is a place of our Avot.
All right, guys, so here we are in our next location after Bethel, where we had Jacob's ladder and that whole story. We are now in biblical Shiloh, ancient Shiloh, or Shiloh, as you guys are used to probably hearing it. This is where the tabernacle stood for 369 years. And this is also the place where you have the convergence of quite a few biblical accounts. For one, you have when the children of Israel are allotting the land, they're setting things up, and this becomes the spiritual center. It's not just the political center, it's the spiritual center, and that's why this location is so significant, is because you have the tabernacle that stood here. Like I said, the tabernacle stood here for 369 years until the unfortunate end of that period with the story, if you know in the Bible, of Eli. You have Eli and his sons. They were corrupt. They destroyed this place, spiritually speaking. They were not responsible for their roles as the priests of Israel and executing justice in the land. They were doing the opposite. They were perverting justice. And so you probably know the story where Israel goes to battle. They take the ark with them. The Philistines take the ark. They win the battle. They take the ark. And it says a Benjamite ran from the battlefield all the way to here to tell Eli. And then Eli, it says he's fat, old. He hears the story and he stumbles, falls backwards, and breaks his neck and dies. So it's a very tragic story. But here's an interesting story behind the biblical story. You have Jewish tradition that attributes the Benjamite who ran from the battlefield to Saul, the future king of Israel. And they say that it was King Saul was the Benjamite, and that he ran the first marathon in history, because you know the marathon is taken from another war with the Greeks in Greece, and that's why it's called marathon, because of the name of that area where the man also gave the report from the battlefield, and that guy dies. This first marathon, the guy survives and he ends up becoming the king of Israel. All right, so you heard me talk about the marathon. So that marathon is today actually revived since 2015, and it's called the Biblical Marathon, or the Bible Marathon, and I actually got the privilege of running in it. It starts in Rosh Hashanah along the coast. You run along Highway 5,
and then you work your way down to Highway 60, and then actually right behind me here, guys, is where the marathon finishes, where this is the finish line. And I remember getting to this point on the finish line. It's after you had a grueling marathon, and we were actually discussing it today. It's one of the hardest marathons in the world, and I can attest to that. By the time you get to the top of this hill, you're smoked, you're completely smoked. And right in front of me would be, or was in the past few years, up until the corona, this last year they had to cancel the marathon, but this is where you would run and cross over the finish line in remembrance of the Benjamite who ran to tell the story from the battlefield.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, to hit like, and to share. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.